smart way call your attention. And this will require that we should have some very good multitasking skills. We would like what you're engaged in to continue, but at the same time, we would also request that you give me your audience. My name is Patrick Ezaga. I'm the Director of Communications at the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda. In a special way, before my wings get clipped in terms of protocol, first of all, let me wish you guys a very Merry Christmas. It's a Christmas season. Now, this is from me. The one of DPF will come packaged appropriately. I had said a prayer for breakfast, but in the interest of those who have just arrived, I'm going to say another short prayer for the occasion. If you may, just kindly humble yourselves. Father in heaven, we come to you with humility and faith that everything we do in this world is for the good of your people, is for the good of humanity. We have assembled today with our key partners. We are here to share knowledge and experiences, to update each other. While we are here, Father, I would like to thank that you are amidst us, and we are aware that there are those who are still on their way. Bring them safely, and may the fruits and the intentions of this meeting be achieved. In your mighty name we pray. Amen. Thank you very much. We have a short program this morning. We really want to keep it within the hour, tops. So we're done with the first phase of the program, which was arrival between 7:30 and 8 in the morning. It's now 8 o'clock. I think it is fair that we set this ball rolling so that by latest 9, we're out of here. It's a Monday morning, a very wet one at that, and I was sharing with some of you what it is with the rain in Africa. Whenever it rains, things get to a standstill in one way or the other. So for those of you with or with no rain who were here, thank you very much for coming and for maintaining your commitment. This program is going to run as follows. After my short welcome remarks, we'll just go around and have a session of introductions. My two ladies are on standby. Briefly, your name and the institution you work for, because this is also a networking opportunity for us. We don't take it for granted that everybody knows everybody, right? So once we're done with that, which should be a very quick one, I will immediately lead us to the remarks and the presentation from my CEO, Madam Julia, after which we'll then open up the floor for any discussions, exchange of ideas, feedback, or something, whatever you may pick up from whatever has to be shared with you. And thereafter, at the beckoning of the CEO, the heads of department of DPF may be called on to chip in here and there as need may arise. And we wrap up by 9 o'clock.
Thank you, and good morning all. I'm Andrew Miel. I work with Stanbic Bank. I'm head of investor services and financial institutions.
Thank you, Andrew.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Asimwe Dorothy Kezia, Executive Director, Equity Bank.
Dorothy, you're very welcome. She was number 2 in the room. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Timothy Musime. I work with Mercantile Credit Bank, Head of Finance.
Welcome, Timothy. This is the Messi in this room. He was the first one in the room. He's the golden boy. The accolades are all yours, sir. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. David Sechirembeka is my name. I work with Citibank Uganda. I'm the head of operations, and as of now, I'm the acting MD.
Congratulations. May the word acting be deleted with time.
With time.
Welcome, David.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Paul Usembo. I'm the head of savings and e-business with Pride Microfinance.
Very welcome, Paul.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Joseph Barikudima. My name is the Executive Director, Centenary Bank.
Good morning, Sam Ntulume, Executive Director and Chief Operations Officer at I&M Bank.
Very welcome, Sam. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is James Onyuta. I'm the MD of Finca. Thank you.
James, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for this very lovely invite on a rainy day, but it's good to meet colleagues. I was telling them bankers never stop.
Yeah.
My name is Sanjay Rugani. I'm the CEO for Standard Chartered Bank.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Pateka Emmanuel. I'm the head legal services at Post Bank Uganda Limited.
Very welcome, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
My name is Michael Mande, Chief Executive, Top Finance Bank.
Michael, you're welcome. To the right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Ahmed Meher, CEO of Cairo Bank Uganda.
Ahmed, you're welcome, sir.
Good morning. My name is Enid Katsime, Head of Operations, Tropical Bank.
Enid, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. My name is Grace Melissa. I'm the Managing Director of EcoBank.
You're very welcome, Grace. Let me have a quick round from the other DPF staffers who are upstanding, with the exception of this table. Starting with yourself.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Juliet Adong. I am the Executive Assistant to the CEO.
There are two colleagues around you. Okay. Pass the mic to the people on your left and right.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Esther Njangali Asimwe, Senior Officer, Corporate Affairs in the Communications Department.
Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Betty Namatovu, and I'm the Senior Officer in charge of Information Resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. To the left side.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mariam Nalunkuma, and I'm the Assistant Manager Communications, DPF. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. That's the team from DPF. One or two may be on the outside to ensure that this event goes on successfully. Now, just by way of refocusing our thoughts, you might have seen in the letters we sent you inviting you for this event that we'd like to have an interaction with the sector, especially you who are the people about which and for which we exist. I can confidently say DPF is because you are. And so this kind of interaction is one that in our plans has to happen every so often, whenever time can allow. But we do appreciate the fact that where you are, you're very busy people. So we cannot always say, let's meet quarterly, but at least once or so in a year, we should be able to have this kind of interaction so that the engagements can be made to be continuous. Of course, we did receive confirmations from a number of you. We thank you very much for that. It helps with planning. And like I said earlier, there's nothing more painful than inviting guests to your banquets and they don't show up. So if you invite people and they actually turn up, it's very nice. And we'd like to thank you for joining us. Mr. Katamba, you're welcome. We just finished a round of introductions, but maybe we can use this moment, pass the mic so that you join the rest, the floor. Quick introduction of yourself, and then we proceed.
Matthias Katamba, CEO DFCU Bank.
You're very welcome, Matthias. So as I mentioned earlier, we would like to keep it brief and precise. By 9, we should be out of here. And the very reason for which we're gathered here, much of it is going to be heralded by my CEO. And at this point, permit me to, in a special way, welcome Madam Julia, Clare, the CEO of DPF.
Welcome back from the eventful day yesterday. I hope all your teams won. I think it was a lovely match. I'm not a very good football fan, but whenever I get to watch football, I really get into it. And I think that it was really like an action-packed movie where you don't know what's going to happen next. But all teams won at the end of the day. So before I start, I'd like to really thank all of you for making time to be with us. We know how very busy you are, handling very important portfolios where you are, but that you've taken time aside to be with us. We don't take for granted. And therefore, we're going to be try to be as brief as possible, but also have impact. So that at the end of the day, we better appreciate deposit insurance. And we're also able to get in feedback from you so that we can keep improving on the service that we deliver. So I'd like to now go on to my presentation. Okay, so we shall go through a background on deposit insurance, the Deposit Protection Fund, the journey that we have moved so far since 2017, and even before then. We take you through our vision, mission, strategic objectives, the roles and functions of DPF, our corporate governance structure, I'm sure many of you are aware of this structure, but it's always good to share so that we have it on top of our minds. Membership and coverage, funding and asset structure, our key achievements. We have a number, but we shall highlight a few of those. And then we have our DPF major projects. And these are the projects that we're working on, especially with you, our contributing institutions. And then we close with what do we see in the next 5 years for the DPF. So to begin with, background to deposit insurance. Where's the next slide? Because I don't want to talk outside the slide. Okay, so deposit insurance initially developed out of the need to protect the vulnerable, uninformed, small depositors. That is very important for all of us to take back home, that it's the vulnerable, uninformed, and small. It gained global prominence in 2007-2008 after the global financial crisis, which saw a number of depositors lose the funds that they had deposited in their respective banks. And so deposit insurance started playing a key role in global financial stability. And although, of course, deposit insurance entities are supposed to help with maintaining confidence, we all know that when a bank is closed, you might take some time to get your deposit. On top of that, you might not get all your deposit because there's always a deposit insurance limit. And therefore, that can in itself affect confidence. And now going forward globally, deposit insurance entities are looking at how can they be of assistance before they reach that point of having to pay out. And we now see deposit insurance entities getting involved in resolution and resolution funding. So that is how deposit insurance is growing and evolving across the globe. So this is a picture of Northern Rock. I'm sure many of you are aware of this bank. So this bank was going through some crisis during that time, 2007, 2008, and the regulators were trying to see how to maybe merge or how to have a P&A, and that information leaked to the public. And one morning when they woke up, they saw those lines in front of Northern Rock. Very quickly, the regulators, the government, the ministries said that we're going to pay you all your deposits in case your bank is closed. So they raised the deposit insurance limit significantly to the extent that after they made that announcement, the next morning there were no lines in the bank. And that informed the policymakers that deposit insurance is actually very, very critical if you're to maintain financial sector stability, especially where you start having issues. So that is a famous picture that the deposit insurance like to share with the public on how Northern Rock was saved due to that announcement that was made. Later, Northern Rock got subsumed into another bank, but there was no financial sector instability because of its evolution into another bank. So a general background to deposit insurance, we have the International Association of Deposit Insurers, and we all subscribe to this entity. It has 92 members, 9 associates, and 17 partners. Uganda is one of the members of IADI. We like to call it IADI and make it a bit shorter. It was established in 2002 to enhance deposit insurance across the globe, and it has its own core principles. The bankers know the Basel core principles, so we also have the deposit insurance core principles that were issued by IADI, and actually they all sit in the same building. at the BIS in Switzerland. So they're all looking at how to strengthen the banking sector, how to strengthen deposit insurance, how to strengthen now the real traditional insurance sector as well. So in 2014, the first core principles were revised, and those were to take into account certain issues that came up during the global financial crisis. They were strengthened, and we now talk of 16 core principles, and those guide all deposit insurance entities across the globe so that we are all moving forward to ensure that deposit insurance is strong, ingrained, and contributes to financial sector stability. So IADI provides lots of trainings to staff of member countries. And of course, DPF, like I've said, is a member, and we joined in 2018. So deposit insurance entities can have different mandates. Like I've explained, the mandate of a deposit insurer is now starting to expand. Apart from only paying out, we can do now many things depending on what the country and what the legal framework provides for. So the simplest version of a deposit insurance entity is what we call a pay box. In a pay box arrangement, you only pay if the bank is closed for liquidation. So in Uganda, the DPF before 2016 was a pay box when it sat within the Bank of Uganda. Then we have the pay box plus, and the plus means that on top of paying depositors after a bank has been closed, you can get involved in other activities, like, for example, liquidation. So in Uganda, we say the DPF evolved to a pay box plus because in the 2016 revision of the Financial Institutions Act, we can be appointed liquidator by the central bank if the central bank deems it fit. And so we now call ourselves not just a pay box, but a pay box plus. Then you can evolve and become a loss minimizer. And when you're a loss minimizer, you start getting actively involved in resolution. And many times you find that you're maybe financing resolutions. And once you start financing resolutions, then you have to really know, what am I financing? And am I really helping the sector, or will I finance this resolution and then later again finance a payout because the bank that I thought I was helping to come out of problems entered another bank which again collapsed. So you start getting involved in resolution, but you're not the resolution authority. Central bank remains the resolution authority. And this is where the DPF would like to go. And this is what we're providing for in our law. Angela, our legal counsel, will take you through briefly the major provisions of the standalone law for the DPF. Then the most mature deposit insurance entity would be the risk minimizer. And here you have all the resolution powers. So if it is a bank to be closed, or you're supposed to do a P&A or an acquisition, it would be the DPF, not the central bank. But in countries where there are risk minimizers, because the two really need to work together, you find the DPFs would handle that, but with a lot of interaction with central banks so that the two of them agree that this is the best resolution mechanism. But actually the DPF takes charge of suggesting the different resolution mechanisms to be employed. And also in certain cases, they start going together with central banks to do regulation, the real on-site inspections. In Africa, we have Nigeria, that's a risk minimizer. So they have they've built their resolution capabilities. They also go on-site together with central bank and sometimes separate from central bank. So the journey of the Deposit Protection Fund in Uganda, and I'll start from the bottom. So the Deposit Protection Fund was established in 1994, following the enactment of the 1993. Those of you who have been around as long as me will remember that we used to have the FIS. Edgar is my counterpart. We used to have the FIS, the Financial Institutions Statute, that guided the bank's operations. So in 2004, that transformed into the Financial Institutions Act. And at that point in time, the DPF still existed within the central bank. But in 2016, we like to say at a certain point in the history of this country, there was a fundamental change. So in 2016 also, for deposit protection, there was a fundamental change, and the DPF was now set aside as a separate legal entity with its own board and senior management team. And we also acquired the plus that I've just explained, which is we can be appointed liquidator by the central bank. So once the law was passed in 2016, in 2017, the Bank of Uganda assisted with starting with the operationalization process, and a team of 11 staff, including myself, were seconded from the central bank. But as we speak now, we have our own staff. Some of central bank staff remained. Others we got from the market, very, very good staff. And now we stand at a staff count of 47. So the vision, mission, and core values of the fund are before you. Our vision is excellence in deposit protection for financial sector stability. If we can't contribute to financial sector stability, then we cease to be relevant. Our mission is fostering public confidence through protection of depositors of institutions regulated by the Bank of Uganda, because we only deal with those that are regulated by the central bank. And our core values, we like to call them right, respect, integrity, transparency, and excellence. So rest assured that as you give us your premiums, that we are always very happy to receive. Our core values are upheld. So your money is safe as long as you give it to the DPF. Don't give it to any other organization. So the roles and functions of the DPF, I've already indicated. I think I've talked about this. I can skip it. We do pay out, and then we can do liquidation. Corporate governance, our structure is laid out before you. Of course, we adhere to corporate governance principles. We have a very strong, powerful board. We have 2 members who represent the public. We have 2 members. One member represents the banking fraternity, and the other member, the microfinance institutions. Then we have a member who represents the PSST, Ministry of Finance. We have a member who represents Bank of Uganda. Then we have the chairman. In total, we have 7 very strong board members. These are professionals. We don't really have politicians on our board. So the fund is in very good, capable hands. So that is our chairman, Mr. Patrick Kagoro. He is a guru in finance matters. He rose within the Bank of Uganda ranks to executive director. That is a very high rank, reporting to the governor. And then to his right is Susan Kanyemibwa. She's the board secretary. She's the one who signs on the money that I'm sure you have in your wallets at the moment. And then to his left is Roy. She's a legal mind behind the board. Then we continue still to my extreme left. We have Mr. John Beruhanga. He represents the PSST of the Ministry of Finance. And then, of course, next to him is yours truly, who you all associate with very closely, Mr. Wilbrod. Next to him is Dr. Barra. He represents the microfinance constituency. And just at his side is Mr. Kalema, who represents the public. So Mr. Kalema and Roy represent the public. And then you have your senior management team. Of course, Julia's there. Alan is in charge of your monies that you give to us. He's in charge of investments and is a CFA. So you can rest assured that we're doing the right thing with your money. Next to him is our doctor, Michael Lugemwa. He's our chief internal auditor. So you should know that we have controls in the fund. The fund is, we're managing it to the best of our ability. And of course, we have Patrick, who has welcomed you all in. He's our director, communications. Just under Patrick's picture is our director, legal, Angela. You will get an opportunity to interact with each of them. Moses Tamale heads our finance. And then we have Mr. Appel, who's in charge of human capital. We used to call it human resources, but he advised us that the world has changed. It's now not human resources. Now we call ourselves the human capital of the fund. And just next to him, that would be on my extreme left, would be Director Balam, who is in charge of our IT systems. So this is the team of 47 staff, and we have the board members, the 7 board members seated in front. So membership, I think this one we're all very conversant that it is only those that are regulated by the Bank of Uganda who contribute to the DPF, and those are the ones, their customers are the ones who we protect up to the 10 million shillings, and this is protection per depositor, per supervised financial institution. And the depositor here is the deposit, the owner of the deposit that has been, a deposit account that has been opened in the bank. And the protection limit stands at 10 million. That was revised upwards from the 3 million. And the revision took place in September 2019 to be able to cover more of the deposits in the sector. So how does it, what's the picture like at the new deposit insurance limit? So we cover 98% of the total deposit accounts in the sector. Currently, the sector has 21.3 million accounts, and we fully cover 20.9 million accounts, meaning those are the accounts with less than 10 million. And maybe just to add, out of those, around 94% have less than even the 1 million. So that tells you that our deposit limit or deposit coverage limit is not too bad. We're really covering a large percentage of the depositors out there. And then when we look at the entire sector, we have 34 trillion in terms of deposits. And if we look at what the 10 million is covering, it covers 6.5 out of the 34 trillion. So we are covering 19% of the total deposits in the sector. And this is very close to the limit of 20% that IADI recommends, because IADI recommends you cover at least 20% of the total deposits in the sector and at least 80% in terms of individual deposit accounts. We are also, although we're a little bit short of the IADI benchmark, we are above the East African benchmark, which talks of 10%. So we're not doing too badly. Then in terms of effective coverage, because our fund is now at 1.1 trillion, but we have around 6.4 trillion out there. Of course, it's not expected that all the banks will close at once, but we try to monitor this. So within the East African region, we're supposed to target 20%. We're at 17%, but we think in the next 2 years, we should be able to reach the 20% mark and be within what is expected of us at the East African region level. So funding and asset structure, of course, we're very pleased that you are very good contributors to the fund. I don't think we even penalize. If we have penalized, it will just be where there's been a slight, probably administrative oversight, but the will is always there. We always get the premiums paid in time, and we charge the 0.2 of the average deposit liabilities that you hold over the 12 months calendar year. And when we get this money, we don't leave it idle. We have Director Alan, our CFA, who takes charge of that money and makes sure that they invest it. I know we can say investing in treasury bills and treasury bonds looks simple, but when you talk to them, they're always looking at the yield curve and seeing where do we put our money, what are we forecasting, where do we see the interest rate moving, and so because the interest rate is moving in a certain direction, we need to start pulling back. And they have lots of very interesting terms, black swan. You know, when I listen to them, I'm like, I should have done finance. But it's a lot of reasoning and a lot of effort that they put in to make sure that even if we're limited within the treasury bills and treasury bonds, we're getting the best that we can get. So the key achievements, there are many, but I'll just look at the major ones. The first one is that we have fully operationalized the fund. When we started, we were relying a lot on Bank of Uganda for many things. Even our contracts, when it came to feeding Bank of Uganda, we started by sitting in Bank of Uganda offices. We used the Bank of Uganda emails, Bank of Uganda IT system. Everything was Bank of Uganda. But I'm happy that with your support, of course, the support of the board, now all functions are handled in-house, internal audit, IT, procurement. Bank of Uganda helped us a lot with procurement up to, I think, a year ago, but now we have our own systems in place. So for us, that is a big achievement. Going forward now, we're looking at automation of our systems because we did not want to start spending too much money on automation when we had few transactions. But as the fund is growing now, we're moving from around 400 billion when we took charge of the fund. Now we're at 1.1 trillion. That tells you how our transactions are also going. So we're now moving into the phase of automation. We have finished the operationalization and everything is in-house. We have enhanced public awareness on the DPF, and this we have done together with you, because all your adverts will say that you're regulated by the Bank of Uganda and the customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund. We thank you. We don't take it for granted, but it has caused some impact. But we know we still have a lot to do, and that's why we have our team headed by Patrick that's always trying to think out the box, and he will share with you some of the strategies that he has to make sure that this awareness increases. He will also share with you why awareness for us is like our bread and butter. The same way you look at your profits, for us we're also looking at awareness because it has a direct link with your financial sector stability. Then we have the IT payout system, and I'd like to thank again all of you. You've sent in representatives whenever we've asked. So Balam and his team, operations team, have worked on an IT payout system, and now this is being rolled out. Once it's rolled out and we do the simulation tests, which we call dry runs, we should be able, in case of that unlikely event that a bank is closed. Of course, we also know that the Bank of Uganda looks at closing a bank if all the other avenues have failed. Theirs is to ensure that no depositor loses money. But if that point comes, we should not be caught pants down. We should be able to pay depositors. Otherwise, that small little bank or big bank, if we don't pay the depositors in time, there's going to be a lot of deterioration in the confidence in the sector, and you'll find people getting out of banking sector, and you already have enough competitors. You have the telecoms, you have others who are coming up with various different products, and that's not what we all want for our banking sector. So that system is very important, and we've received a lot of support from you, for which we are very grateful. Policies and procedures, of course, when we were appointed to the fund, there was no policy, there was no procedure. But we have worked through all those. Giving an example for those who might have to set up an institution from scratch, when you have an institution in front of you, you don't know how you're supposed to recruit a staff. If you decide to recruit a staff, you don't know how are you supposed to remunerate them. What is guiding you on their training? How will they be promoted? What about if there are indiscipline issues? How will you manage? And if the staff wants to leave, how do you manage? Or you want them to leave, how do you manage? So that whole HR cycle we had to put it in place and have it firm before we brought in the staff. Of course, we keep revising that now, because as you now start operationalizing, you see certain gaps, but that is now a small part of the hard work. But that's what we had to go through, putting in place policies, communications policies, IT policies, and so on. Of course, one of the big ones we're happy about was that we're able to convince even the Minister of Finance that we needed to increase our deposit insurance limit. Then we had regulations that operationalized the Financial Institutions Act provisions for the DPF. That was not an easy process, but we had to go through it before we even started recruiting staff. And somehow it explains the slight delay we had with getting staff on board, but we had to have everything in place before we brought in the staff to make sure that we don't get exposed again to legal court cases and so on. Those are key achievements. We can go on to the next slide. So the major projects, and my directors will be talking to you about these. Of course, I've already mentioned them. We have the payout and premium management system. Payout is to pay your depositors very fast. Premium management is so that we don't have cases of we have to penalize because of an administrative challenge that you might have had. So we want to automate it so that we send out emails, you receive the emails, and you send us the money, and we get notification, and we steadily get out of having to write physical letters. But the strategy is first to have it dual, and once we get used to the system, we withdraw the letters so that it makes it easier for you as our customers to be able to pay the premiums in time. Then I've talked about the standalone DPF law, because currently we're provided for in the Financial Institutions Act, and yet we're a separate entity of government. And also we have many other things that we need to do. We need to be empowered to do, which were not envisaged at the time when we were sitting in the Financial Institutions Act. And so that is what Angela and the team are working on. Of course, inspection of contributing institutions is something we have started this financial year. We have gone to some of the banks, and these inspections should not be confused with the Bank of Uganda on-site inspections. These are specific to deposits, depositor records, depositor balances, to make sure that they're accurate, so that in that event, and we keep saying unlikely, because that is not what we wish for, but if it is to happen, we have accurate records and we're able to pay the depositors very fast. Regular engagements with the CEOs, like what we're having now. We would like to keep up and keep updating you on the new things that the DPF is working on. Public awareness, of course, we need you to be our partners, because we know the depositors mostly interact with you when they come to the banking halls. They see the posters, and they might want to ask, what does DPF mean? What does it mean for, what's the meaning of deposit insurance being 10 million? So at least your staff should be able to explain, because we shall not be there sitting, waiting for the customers. So there's a lot of need for us to work together when it comes to public awareness. And then we have our customer satisfaction dipstick survey that we sent out recently, and Patrick will talk more about this, because we want to also serve you better. We want to know where can we improve, or where we are doing well, so that we can keep even doing better. So going forward, we have a strategic plan. Our first strategic plan covered 2017-2022, and we put that in place immediately. We took charge of the DPF, and that has now elapsed. So we have a new plan taking us from 2022 to 2027. And it has, those are 6 major objectives. One is, of course, enhance public awareness. For us, that is our bread and butter, and we want to increase it, because we suspect we are on 0 or 1% at the moment, because we've just started doing the public awareness. So we really want to put this up to 25%. And we know it looks small, But when we interact with our deposit insurance entities within the region and beyond, they say creating public awareness on deposit insurance when everything is okay is very difficult because people can't imagine that a bank can close. But public awareness on deposit insurance rises when a bank closes, but we don't want to wait for that event. So we want to pump up our public awareness drives across the country over the next 5 years. The fund size would also like to grow it to 2 trillion by 2027 so that we're able to cover more than 20% of the deposits that are there in the sector. Readiness to pay, and this is what is driving the need for us to have this payout system. According to the law, we're supposed to pay within 90 days. And you will remember in the late 90s, some of you who were already born, but I think most of us were born by that time. When the Greenland banks, the cooperative banks, the ICB bank were closed, it took a long time for central bank to pay the depositors because everything was manual. It was Excel sheets and so on, and that affected confidence in the financial sector because I know so many people say, I can't take my money to a bank because my father suffered to get money from Greenland Bank. So that is what we want to get out of, and we want to be able to pay at least within 7 to 30 days. And if we cooperate with you as our key stakeholders and also do our public awareness on our part, we should be able to do that and even target less than 7 days. Attain an enhanced mandate, and this is where we're talking about being able to finance resolutions. And maybe just to be clear that when we say that we're going to finance resolutions, it doesn't mean that banks that are struggling will get money from the DPF, no. It just means that if central bank is trying to resolve a financial institution and they're trying to match the assets and liabilities, okay, make the other institution attractive for this other institution to buy, we could give in our money. But there are so many caps to the money that we shall give because we have our major mandate of paying depositors, so we would give money up to the amount of money we would have paid if it was a payout, and no more, because we have to protect and still be able to have the money intact in case we have to pay out through a deposit insurance activity. Ensure that the board and staff members acquire relevant skills. And then, of course, the last one is to have stable, motivated, and engaged staff. And we have an acceptable staff turnover ratio of 5%. Of course, we would like if it is 0, but sometimes you can't stop staff from leaving. But we really try to put in place packages which are comparable to the market so that we're not below what the market offers. So the key takeaways, I'm sure from here, we've talked about the premiums. We all know that the depositors don't pay the premium directly. Of course, we know that this is modeled within your cost structures, but we don't expect you to deduct an amount called premium, because that would, of course, raise alarm from the public because they know that it's the institution paying the premium. Of course, all depositors that are contributing to those institutions regulated by the Bank of Uganda are the ones that are protected. The need to display DPF posters in all your banking halls is very important because that is public awareness. DPF pays per depositor, not per account. Angela might elaborate more on that. Our current limit is 10 million per depositor per bank. Dollar accounts are protected, but if we have to pay out your dollar-denominated deposit, we would convert it into Uganda shillings using the foreign exchange rate that Bank of Uganda used the day before the bank was closed. Or computations for payments per depositor, we've talked about that, and generally the DPF doesn't handle customer complaints, although we're seeing a lot of depositors coming to us saying that I deposited my money, now there are charges that I don't understand. So we keep advising them that we are not in charge of depositor complaints, and we refer them to the banks and sometimes to Bank of Uganda, because Bank of Uganda has a desk that handles some of those complaints that have not been probably handled very well. But of course, it's good always for the financial institution to do its best to handle those complaints, because when they start getting out, then the impression the outsiders have of the bank starts changing. And then lastly, we have questions and comments, but before that, I would like to introduce my team so that they can give a few comments on probably the major activities that they are working on. And I will start with, let me first introduce you, and then I think you'll come and share with them what the major activities you're handling that need them, especially need support of our key stakeholders, the contributing institutions. So I will start with Balam. Maybe Balam, you can come here and share.
My name is Balam Sempala. I'm the Director IT Department. One of the key main projects that we are handling in IT, as the CEO has mentioned, is the IT payout and the premium management system. We started the project last year and we completed it. It went live in June. We worked with a number of banks, 4 of them, during the implementation to help us get on board, and also with telecom companies. Now, this IT payout system has 2 main modules. The first module is the premium management. That is to help us to compute the premiums that you always pay. And we are going to be using the system to send you emails or to even to bill for the premiums. So we are moving away from the manual invoicing, and then we should be using all the processes for the premiums will be automated with the system. The second module is the payout. This is now in the event that a bank is closed, we will be using the payout system to pay the depositors. And we will be using 3 main payment channels. We will be using the mobile services, that is through the telecom companies. We have 2 main telecom service providers, MTN and Airtel. Those are the ones, the big networks. So we will be using them to help us to pay very fast, as you have heard the CEO say, that we need to pay very fast to make sure that we manage the sector and build confidence. So we'll be using those ones, and we hope that the biggest number of depositors will be covered through mobile payments. Then we'll be using the alternative bank accounts, especially for the companies and the other few depositors who may wish to use their alternative bank accounts. And then the last one will be at the tellers, paying some of the depositors who may have issues, because the IT payout system has to use a unique identifier. And as you may be aware, some of our depositors don't have not updated their NIN. We don't have. So in case of a payout, those are the cases that may arise. So those ones may be directed to the agent bank to be paid at the tellers. So those are the 3 main payment channels that we have on the system that we'll be using to pay. Now, we are now in the process of rolling out a system, and I want to thank the banks, as the CEO has said, for supporting the project, because you have sent us your staff. We have trained them. Last week, we had training for the staff, and we are now ready to roll out the system to the rest of the banks. And we have already worked out a schedule, which we are going to communicate to you, and then we should be done with the rollout by the end of March next year. And after the rollout, we will be now carrying out simulations, as the CEO has also said, that to make sure that we are ready and we are confident the system is working. And this one will take us probably a year running in parallel with the manual premiums and then the automated premium invoices, and also making sure that everyone is on board and we are all ready to use the system without the manual processes. So the power run will run for about a year, depending on the circumstances, and after that, we will now be set to use the system. In brief, that's what I have to present. Thank you very much.
Now call upon our Director Investments, Alan, 2 minutes. Share with our key stakeholders how we go about managing our investments so that we don't lose money.
Good morning. Once again, Karibu Chai. I see for many of you, we still have a lot of chai at the back. So please take a minute to go and pick 1 or 2 things. My name's Alan Luetabe, and I'm the Director of Investments. On our side, the focus, as has been highlighted, is ideally to double the size of the fund that is in our charge. The task that we've been given is to generate through investment income primarily up to 80% and grow this fund from where it is about 1 trillion to 2 trillion. And as we are doing that, we are seeking to position ourselves as the best-in-class fixed income portfolio manager in the country. Right now, we are number 2 to NSSF in terms of size. But in terms of the way we do business, we want to be more active, and we are building a team that is capable of interacting with the market with that vision. So at the moment, we've been working with many of the banks. We started with Standard Chartered and DFCU as our primary brokers. We have since expanded that to have ABSA, we have Stanbic now, we have started work with Baroda, as well as UBA, and we are looking to bring on board other banks as well as we expand our operations. Our vision is that we may not be able to provide direct fixed deposit to place money with you directly, but we believe through our actions, by being active managers, we can interact with the banks as well, and as well give value to your brokerage houses in our operations. So our vision over the next 10 years is that we are going to become a key partner for your global markets teams, and we hope that as we move along, we bring and carry your global markets teams with us. So I'm looking forward to speaking to your teams, and together we shall build a more resilient and impactful fund in the next 10 years. Thank you very much.
I think we'll have now the lady, Angela, can take us through very briefly on what we're doing on the legal front.
Good morning, everyone. Like Alan says, there's some more tea if you need to warm up. It's a cold, almost frosty morning, but thank you very much for taking your time out. My name is Angela Kiriabwire Kanyima. I'm the Director Legal and Board Secretary. And relating to the fund, we are looking at having a law in place. For the moment, we are seated within the Financial Institutions Act. And what that does for us is that it brings a bit of limitation in terms of if we want to have the law amended, if we want to add anything. We are Siamese twins with the Bank of Uganda that holds a bigger portion of the Financial Institutions Act. So we have been encouraged to break that relationship. The twins continue working as twins, but having separate legal frameworks. So we are working around that. What have we done is that it's a protracted area to have a new law, and we have made a few milestones. Now we cannot pass policy in government without doing what we call a regulatory impact assessment. We have gone through that, and we did come through your institutions, but and we got your views and comments. However, when it goes into, it's now with the Ministry of Finance, and we're working closely with the Bank of Uganda, but when it goes to Cabinet, before the law is passed, we will have another round with you, so please have your legal teams and all of you ready to have another go at it, to have a law that will be resilient and robust enough to carry the deposit insurance sector forward. What are we looking at within the law? We are looking at strengthening the governance structures within the law. We are also looking at strengthening the mandate of the fund, looking into areas of enlarging the fund's mandate into areas like resolution funding. We are also looking at strengthening other areas like exemption of staff from and the fund from legal proceedings, and also we are looking at having an area that we are very strong at, and that is deposit insurance. Many times when we talk about it, we get mixed up with the IRA, which is the Insurance Regulatory Authority, but we want something that comes out clear and then also enable us, if we need to have any amendment, because it's a dynamic area, if we need to have any amendments, we'll be able to do it largely alone, and without having to go through the rigors of going with our Siamese twins. So in a nutshell, that's what we are doing on the legal front. Thank you.
So we shall have Appel, our Director, Human Capital. He'll take us through how we're managing our staff to make sure we deliver value for the fund and for you, our contributors.
Good morning. My name is Moses Appel Odong. I'm the Director, Human Capital and Administration at the Deposit Protection Fund. I'll start, what do Human Capital and Administration do? In summary, I'll quote an author called Perry Timms, who said, any business and work is about people. Yes, people is what makes business and work what they are. So as the Director, Human Capital and Administration, our main role is to attract key talent and ensure that they have the requisite skills and knowledge to deliver on the mandate of the Deposit Protection Fund. And we have a stringent recruitment process to ensure that that is what we actually do. As a brief, I will recall the fund started in 2017, around 2017, with 4 people, the CEO, Director Investments, we had a person in legal and an administrative assistant. But as we speak now, the team is 47 strong, and we keep adjusting and evolving based on the needs of the fund. As the mandate of the fund keeps changing, or as the Director of Legal has mentioned, there are new items or new fields we may require to provide better service in. So as Human Capital Director, my main role is to ensure that we attract the right people to deliver that and ensure that we work well with our partners and that all the deposits we have are well taken care of and grow to deliver the mandate of the fund. Thank you for listening and have a good day.
Okay, thank you, Appel. So we try to make sure we keep the staff because that ensures continuity of our projects. It ensures continuity of our relationships with you. So I'd like to call upon our acting Director, Finance and Business Operations to say a word or two. Moses, you're welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Moses Tamale. I'm the Acting Director, Finance and Operations. Like that, the title states, my department is in charge of financial reporting at the fund, and it is also in charge of managing operations. This is a division that manages deposit insurance activities at the fund. So all activities concerning deposit insurance are under my department. The key projects we are working on include monitoring progress of the single customer view project. You've heard of guidelines which were issued by the central bank regarding standardization of depositor records in banks, and this is a key input to the depositor payout and the premier management system. So we are monitoring progress on this. We also do inspection. You've seen our teams come into some banks to look at depositor records. Our inspection is a bit limited in scope. It looks at depositor records only. Majorly, those are the three major projects we are undertaking in the department. I thank you.
Thank you, Moses. And I will end by the most important. Like I said, public awareness is our bread and butter. So I'd like to call upon Director Patrick Izaga to give a few comments, and he continues to take charge. But thank you so much for listening attentively. We're looking forward to more engagements as Patrick invites us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. You heard for yourself. This is now the butter. The rest have been the bread. 2 minutes. First, I need to use my 2 minutes. Then I come to moderation. Yeah, no cheating. Really, for emphasis purposes, first of all, I'd like to thank your institutions. We are doing the Dipstick survey. Dipstick because it's really just browsing through. We appreciate how busy banks are. So the survey is no more than 5 minutes. It's online. They're click, click, click. And how does it work out? Biannually, we'll be getting to your staff as feedback. All they need to do is just give us the feedback on the form in less than 5 minutes. And it should be rotational, not the same staff every year. In terms of public awareness, on our part, what we have done is, if you go to the DPF website, we have all your different logos of your financial institutions, the contributing institutions. So whoever visits our website will surely find you there. But we've taken it a notch higher. We've created a link. So when they click on your website, it directs them to your website. But as it is, a good turn deserves another. So we're also requesting that somewhere in the corner of your website, paste DPF there, so that when the people visit your website, they can also come to see what it is that DPF does as part of the strategies of creating awareness. Because we're still doing very badly on awareness. I could challenge the people in this house now, get back home in the evening and find out from your spouse if they know about DPF. For those who have, you'll be shocked at the results. I don't want to do the survey here by show of hands. But chances are, even us who are, interacting with the institution, the people around us immediately hardly know anything about DPF. So how can we be talking, awareness when your own impact in your immediate circles is hardly felt? The other thing I needed to mention is, in terms of appreciation, you see, there is awareness. Somebody can argue that many people are aware if awareness is about having heard. So as CEO mentioned, they hear in the adverts you put out, oh, there's DPF. But how many people actually appreciate what it does, especially the frontline staff? So as DPF, with effect from the next financial year, we would like to start engaging your frontline staff on one-on-ones, and we can do it in 2 ways. As comms department, we are available. If you have new staff, you're doing your inductions, you have your regular meetings, invite us. We can come 5-10 minutes, engage, so that you guys are CEOs. You should be focusing on the bigger things, the figures and so on and so forth. So on one way, we are on hand should you need us to come to you. But on the other, we would also like to go for physical trainings, especially with your up-country brick-and-mortar branches. Of course, through your offices, we'll get to you. If we went to a place like Gulu, for instance, we'd like to get 1 or 2 frontline staff, for those of you who have branches there, engage them so that we take them from just being aware about DPF to appreciating what it is, because they are the ones who talk to the depositors directly. The other thing I needed to emphasize is the adverts. Yes, many of you are running adverts, but I'd like to request that you should interest yourself into hearing the adverts. Some of the adverts that you're putting on the radio, the way they end could actually be a reputational risk for you. There's an institution I won't mention that ends its adverts with the deposit. No, funds are protected by the Deposit Protection Unit. It doesn't even exist anywhere in the law. And it keeps running every day. I recall my CEO shared with you a letter regarding the adverts, right? From a marketing perspective, we are aware that even 2 seconds in an advert is a cost. So we wouldn't want you to incur cost unnecessarily. But it is possible to be succinct and precise. When you start introducing a non-existent entity called the Deposit Protection Unit, it's a different story. And for those who know that it is deposit protection fund, will listen to your bank's advert and say, what the hell is with these guys? I don't want to drive that in. The damage is for you to assess. Finally, and most importantly, the displays. We walk into some of your banks, one either as clients. I have my little resources in some of your banks. You don't go and audit it, it's not much. But on the other hand, we also go around doing our work. And while public awareness has been emphasized at different levels, both in our national laws, in IADT's core principle number 10, and so on and so forth, the display in some of your branches need to be improved because, I mean, it doesn't make sense to put out the poster and obscure it with other notices. So you only see a bit of the other lady's face, the rest of it is obscured. By location, some of it is, you know, it is the case of lighting a lamp and putting it under the table. And yet the law is very specific. These materials need to be where the depositors can easily access them. The common matter among most of your institutions is at the teller points, you know, those tills where you serve clients, there is supposed to be a little sticker there as well, because that is when the clients are waiting to be served, they have the impact. Yes, we are aware there are branding issues. We're aware that as banks, you have your, but you know, the branding and the law, we want to take precedence, we know. So mine is really to appeal that be interested. As you pass through the hall to go to your office, most of you don't actually pass through the banking halls anyway. You access through a more sophisticated stairway, probably air-conditioned. But once in a while, walk down into your banking halls and interest yourself. Because for now, we're in this together. Sooner or later, you know, when things move from my side of communications to inspection, the story changes, isn't it? Because then we will be coming to find who is not doing the right thing. And I don't think that's the right time to do that right now. We're still in this. Let's walk this journey together. It's very simple. It's really about how you position those things. In a nutshell, that's what I wanted to share with you, and to say that this has been a very good morning so far. In communication, we don't say communication is effective unless there's feedback. I'd like us to wrap this session this morning by opening the floor to you to hear some feedback, some questions. You might have been having some burning issues, but you're too busy, you can't get to us. Whatever it is, let's use the next few minutes to get feedback. We have mics, one on the left side with Mariam and Juliet. So it's a feedback moment, ladies and gentlemen, as we wrap up the day in the next few minutes. All right, we start at the back and then we come here.
I think mine is first to say thank you to the DPF management. Madam CEO, we really appreciate the engagement that the DPF is doing to our Uganda Banking Association, UBA. Thanks for organizing the workshop that was held on the 9th of December, where we had our bank staff come at Protea, and they were engaged and taken through the system, that is the premium management system, including the single customer view template. So I just have a question that I request Dr. Baram from technology, just to clarify on. My team was telling me that there were some 2 extra fields that are being incorporated in the area template that was shared with the financial institutions, because the area one that we have had 17 data elements, which we are supposed to correct. So my humble request is that for those 2 data elements, we will appreciate if those can quickly be shared with us as financial institutions, just to confirm internally whether we do already have that data within our systems. That's one. Then on the second one, again, to thank you for the premium management system that is being automated in terms of the invoice billing. It will help us to move away from the manual process. And in terms of the administration challenges, Madam CEO is aware when I speak about this as Citibank Uganda. She has that background. So in terms of the email notifications, how often will those be triggered to the respective, say, users that are maintained for the financial institutions, just to ensure that there is timely visibility, timely action by the financial institutions, but also, soon as the financial institutions has made its payment for that premium payment, will there be still a return email back to the financial institution to acknowledge that the payment has actually been received in your account and the update of the account within the DPF has been made? Thanks. And just to wrap it up, Madam CEO, again, to pass on my appreciation, we are seeing the management of DPF being more engagement, much as you are partly on a regulatory bit of it, but your staff are very cooperative. Personally, I've had email interaction with Patrick. He has not seen me before, but you find that as soon as you send the email, he responds. He guides you on what is actually supposed to be done. That's one. Then the second one is some lady called Lydia Namirembe. Still, I've not met her. I don't know if she's in this house.
No, she's not here.
Yeah,
but I'll pass the message to her.
Yeah, but she proactively actually follows up with me. I don't know where she got my mobile number from. I said, Citibank, I've not seen this. Please, the 20th date is actually about to approach. You see, 20th is the quarterly timeline when we are supposed to be sending the what? Our notification regarding the single customer view data collection.
Yes.
But you find someone is on a regulated bit, but they are really concerned, as opposed to saying that we shall penalize you, did not submit on time. So well done, and we really appreciate the engagement and the support as a stakeholder. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for especially the last part. I think let's take the next question. Let's take the questions, then we'll respond at once. There was one here. James, please go ahead.
Thank you. CEO, thank you very much for hosting us today. And indeed, making sure we have breakfast as well. What better way to make sure we are in good spirits? Two questions, Patrick. I won't be here long.
Yes, please, go ahead.
The first one is on that single customer view project, a very key project you undertook over the last 2 years.
Yes.
I've not had any update on the stats.
Okay.
I would love to hear that, and I'm sure each and every one of us would. The other question is, and I think we spoke last year about this, when you talk about the displays in the banking halls, as we go digital,
yes,
you're getting fewer people walking into that banking hall. And
True
I'm
that.
starting to think, is it really relevant? Thinking of posters. We are also challenged. We are getting leaner, most of us. And when I walk into those halls, they are full of posters everywhere. Every wall is covered. And I don't know how effective that starts to be. So mine is, how can we work smarter as comms people to start spreading this in various channels, touch points of engagement with customers. I'm really looking forward to how we can crack that and avoid a wall of posters.
That's true.
Which I think even customers don't have enough time to go through all of them. Yes. Thank you very much.
We'll answer those two. I'll pick off from the one that concerns me, then Balam and my colleagues can come in. Yes, we would like to follow your customers to where they are. Times have changed. I started off by saying the reciprocity on the websites is one of the ways of moving away from the walls, isn't it? But until that law is amended, it still specifies that you must display in location X. So you see where the issues of amendment start coming in, so that the law can then give us the flexibility. Short of that, we can be, as you know it, there are people who love litigation and they will drive to the court with one pickup of books without naming names. Just because you say, you know what, DPF, the law says you're supposed to have this, why aren't you doing it? So those are some of the issues and the interconnectivity. But it doesn't stop us from, we're actually thinking out of the box. We're trying to see how we can follow the depositors to where they are in order to make them aware. So it's a multi-pronged approach, but we're in this together. If you have an idea that clicks you up, please drop us a line. I mean, these things, there's no monopoly of knowledge. We can always share, okay? My team, Balam, there were one or two issues we needed to respond to. Then we take maybe another, how many more questions do we have? Let's see, 1, 2, 3. All right, we'll then take that in the second round. Let's respond to the first two.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the questions. On the template, we have indeed shared the template. When we were doing the training with the CIs, we went through the template.
Balam, is it me or is it your mic? Or is it how you're holding it?
Is it
or
my
all
voice?
of those?
My voice?
Yeah,
Is
maybe.
it okay now?
Yes, better.
Okay, what I was saying that we have shared the template with your staff from the different CIs as we are going through the training. So for them, they should be aware, and they have already actually appreciated the need for those extra columns that we have added. We will, however, share, because we are going to communicate a schedule, and we will attach the template as well. And we may also share with the CEOs, so that you also have a feel and a peek of that template. So that one will be shared again. Yes, the system actually will be, first of all, we have the annual premiums, which are billed annually. And then we have the risk-adjusted, the RAPs, which will be also billing. Now, once, at the time of invoicing, the system will send an invoice, but before that, there will be a reminder in terms of a notification that it's now it's due for you to prepare your premiums, and then you pay. Then after the invoice is sent to you, the system will also send you reminders before the actual day for the penalty. That's the 21 days. And then to send you reminders, and after the expiry of the 21 days, the system will also now send you a penalty if you have failed to make your payments within the provided time frames. So those notifications will be sent to you over email. Yeah, that's the frequency.
Thank you. CEO, there was the issue of single customer view.
Okay, thank you, James, for that question. On compliance of the industry with the single customer view requirements, we've done well because our target was 80% and we're at 87%. I think there's one or two institutions that are slightly below that, but they're pushing to have those at the 80% mark. The only challenge is now when we go in to do the on-sites, we start seeing that what is reported is kind of different from what is on the ground. So for example, we can say maybe customer X is now fully compliant, but we've not used his national ID. We have used his passport, or we've used his work permit. The beauty with our payout system, we're able to upload that information, and whatever it rejects will be that is information that doesn't comply with the single customer view. So we appreciate the effort each of you has made, but please go back and keep relooking at it, because you might think you're at 80%. When we run the information through our system, you fall short and even reach like 30 or 40%. So that's important for your chief operating officers or whoever is in charge of this project within your banks. Of course, there are certain maybe misconceptions on what we expected in the single customer view vis-a-vis the way the banking operates. So like, for example, we saw a number of banks were putting joint account holders under individual. And it's because of the framework within which the banking fraternity works with, and that is okay for your internal reporting, but we've been explaining that for us, because deposit insurance is given for individuals separate from joint accounts, and once those are mixed, then we shall start overpaying or underpaying, and that will cause an outcry if we have to pay. So there are a few areas where we are coming to terms with, as we go to do the on-site inspections, we bring these up, and the banks generally are taking these positively with the view of addressing them. But very important is now that we're all here, please, if we can go back to our IT heads or operations heads and make sure that we're actually getting. You can also do some test checking yourself, and you'll be able to see that some of the data is reported as compliant, but maybe it's not really compliant. We don't want to come to that situation where we feel that we can't trust the information that you're giving us. But overall, there is a lot of input that the banks have made. Now, there's the issue of the dormant accounts, and many of the banks have actually gone out their way to reach out to dormant account holders, and many of them have actually said this project has helped us bring back the customers we thought we had lost. But some banks probably haven't taken it very seriously and felt that dormant accounts, we can't reach them. But just to encourage all of you that it is possible. If your counterparts have done it, set up projects to look out for these dormant account holders, and they've brought in these account holders back, it's something that you can also think about. Because at the end of the day, we have to also pay the dormant account holders. So in terms of strategy, don't leave out the dormant account holders. They're important to you because they can increase your business. They're also important to us as the DPF. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's take the three that I had. I think there was one. Yes, we can start from.
Once again, I'm Shafi Nambobi, the CEO of Yuga Ford. Just to say thanks to the Deposit Protection Fund management for visiting the various partners. I think it is good.
Thank you.
We're able to interact and share. I just want to relate to the issue of public awareness, just speaking on behalf of the MDIs. As you're aware, we have the amendments to the MDI Act that is in Parliament. And we are being told the committee is concerned about using the word bank. And of course, they are also using the word protecting deposits. So I think this is the time that we need your support and also to build the awareness to that committee that the MDIs have customers, house deposits are protected. And we are also partners to the Deposit Protection Fund, like the commercial banks. So I think that's something that we are appealing to you to support us in that area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shafi. I saw as you were commenting, Angela picked a pen. I can guess she must be writing in capital letters and not lowercase. There was the next question. Was it on this table?
Yes, just
go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank
Timothy,
you.
right?
Timothy, yes. Mercantile Credit Bank. Thank you. Mine is just to seek clarification. The Director Legal mentioned something, I think in passing, which I just needed clarification on. She mentioned one of the things they're working on is exemption of the DPF from legal proceedings. Just wanted to understand what that means and what the implication is legally.
Thank you. Once again, my name is Emmanuel Pateka from Postbank. My question is just the meaning of the CEO talked about paying per depositor and not per account. I would like to know what that means.
Okay.
And then the CEO said that they are not concerned with depositor complaints. But then my issue is, if DPF is insuring deposits, how can you run away from customer complaints about their deposits? So I think maybe there should be an amendment in the law that gives DPF mandate to handle customer deposits. If a person has a complaint about his account, then DPF should be able to support that customer, not to refer them to Bank of Uganda or the respective banks.
And then I go to the head of compliance and he says, nothing is wrong, this is normal.
Yes.
So I took time to also go to your website, and clearly it was a good website. I saw the report for 2021, which was very useful.
Thank you very much.
I think clearly the CEO made a good presentation. So I want to pass compliments of the progress that the fund has made.
Thank you.
I've worked in many markets in Africa, and I must say this is really amongst the best. So compliments on that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Now I also know that this breakfast, I know my friend said thank you for the breakfast, but it's not free because you have already given us a laundry list. Put the posters here, do this, you know. We bankers, we know what, we sweat everything. So trust me, just continue, is what I would say.
Thank you.
Now I have a few comments, in terms of going forward.
Yes, please.
I think that, number one, your aspirations, and this is really to the CEO, were very good. Two of your goals were very board and staff related, and one of them was about engagement. With just the engagement I've seen, I think you should take off that goal. You can keep it as a good to have every day. You've already made everyone stand, they speak so lively. The engagement is there. I mean, this shouldn't be a strategy matter. This is a day-to-day matter. And the board knowing the rules and the game of deposit protection by 2027, that's too far. In our world, you don't get that chance. You have to know it like today.
Yeah.
So that is what I would recommend. I think we need to think about things slightly, my recommendation. With the fund doing so well, and I can tell you, we all as bankers will behave. So the fund continues to grow. Because if we don't behave, it doesn't grow. Is that right? With the new corporate governance standards that have just come out, we don't have a choice but to behave better. So I think that is very important. We should look at differentiated income brackets model based on the risk we see associated. Nowadays, everything is risk-based. So we'd be happy to have a conversation as UBA. Number two is, with the fund doing so well, I think this economy continues to have a lot of risk. And in your report of 2021, you've really demonstrated well all the risks. If we can then expand this to digital money, especially mobile money, someday I hope we give you the mandate of managing this for SACCOs also. You're doing so well. You've got a great team, 47 people. You don't need to establish more associations. I'm sure the government can work on that. I really like that you want to extend from 1.1 trillion to 2 trillion by 2027. That is an 81% growth. I'm hoping we as bankers can grow our deposits by 81%. You know? So someday if we behave a lot and you don't use that deposit fund that we are giving, you know, I hope someday that 0.2 can come down. You know, so you have to get into a ceiling, because 1.1 out of 34 trillion is already 3.2% of the total deposits sit with you. If you take it to 2 trillion, and maybe our deposits are 40 trillion or 42 trillion, that's about 5%. So we have to look at a differentiated model, and maybe we can have that conversation as UBA. I'd also like to see what's our protection versus regional protection. So I know that Kenya is 500,000, which is about $5,000. Ours is 10 million, two and a half, just maybe $2,700. Someday we should look at that if we continue to behave. So grow protection for our customers. I also like that we want to be the best-in-class fixed income. I think that's very important. You know, so I would hope that becomes a strategy, actually, because it's a very critical point. But I really love this interaction. Thank you.
Quick ones. I'll start with the last around the legal. When on the timelines, we're looking at moving this steadily in the next quarter, which is between January to March. We have an engagement with the Bank of Uganda tomorrow, and that will really give us a heads up on to how the timelines are. But we are looking to having this document move through cabinet in the next quarter. So just be prepared. Anytime we are good to go. The little snag we had was just wrapping up our discussions with the Bank of Uganda, which has already been covered. And then the second one is legal proceedings. What are we looking at? The fund is a very critical element for financial stability. So we want to have protection of the fund, that it should not be attached. You know, you can get some naughty person attempting to attach the fund, and what chaos would that cause? So we are looking at having it expressly exempt in the law from attachment, and also maybe protection of the staff. But the critical element is avoiding having the fund attached in case of any legal proceedings. That is what we are looking at. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela. CEO?
Thank you, Patrick. I know Angela has very good answers to some of these about customer complaints and the deposit protection per depositor, not per account.
Thank you, CEO. When we look at the deposits, we are looking at per depositor. And what does that mean? If we have, Angela has 5 accounts in the bank, and the bank goes under in the unlikely event, we look at Angela. And Angela will be given that you look at her as one person, and that is it. You'll be paid as that one person. And so that is the view that we have.
Based on the unique identifier, the NIN and so on.
Okay. Yeah, and then the issue of customer complaints. Really, we would love to answer the questions if they came by, but it's not within our mandate. So when we have customer complaints, bear with us, we'll channel you to the right place, and most of them fall with the Bank of Uganda. So we guide where the complaints come. So if you, for avoidance of doubt, if you really need guidance, we'll guide you as to where we'll act as a campus, but it's not within our mandate to handle the particular customer complaints. Thank you.
I think we sometimes just need to support each other. You know, some of the complaints that come on mail are so flimsy. They are very operational issues that your staff can handle. Now, when we have to pick it up and pass it on to the central bank because we don't have the mandate, you're escalating what will actually be. So we think that as comms, and I've mentioned it to some of your institutions that were visited, we would like to establish a direct contact with some of your equivalents. Because CEOs, you're busy. But allow us to engage with your, what do you call them, customer service managers or something like that. So that if it is one of those little issues that can be addressed, rather than send it to the bank, we at least notify you, oh, by the way, there is this customer of yours who has this matter. And it could be addressed, as opposed to going through the other long channel that may take time and so on and so forth. And I can't blame the customers. You see, they read the word protection. Deposit, protection, fund. So my deposit, you protect. I have come to you, protect me. It is as literal as that. But I think we can work around this. But as Angela said, and as you're recommending, for us to do that, it will require, where is that August House from here? It is somewhere here. Yeah, they need to make the choice. CEO, maybe you can then wrap up.
The reason why it looks like mobile money is not covered by the fund is because the country has decided to cover it in a different way that is now termed as ring fencing. So the way the mobile money is covered, that money that is in the escrow account, according to the National Payment Systems Act, that is supposed to be invested in those liquid assets so that in case anything happens, that portfolio, the liquidator, can transfer it to another bank. The major thing, the world is now saying, let's not reach a point where customers have to be paid. Let it be like a P&A for banks. People will just continue getting their money. And indeed, when AfriCell went down, you saw people just continue to get their money from another service provider. We didn't have an outcry from the people. And it's because of that ring fencing methodology that the country has adopted. And I think many other countries in the region are also thinking of adopting the same structure that Uganda has adopted for mobile money. And for mobile money, they are completely covered, not even just 10 million. Yeah, because it's matched with what is in the escrow account. Then there's the issue of the differentiated premium. We already have differentiated premium because all of you pay the same annual premium, but based on your deposits. Then we have the risk adjusted, which for you, because Standard Chartered, maybe you've not suffered the risk adjusted premium, but the banks that have to pay it, it is a big toll on them, and that is how we're adjusting our premiums for the risk, because then if you're unsatisfactory or marginal, you pose a risk to the fund, and they have to pay. So that is how we've adopted the differentiated methodology of charging premiums. Then we go to the region. How are we doing in terms of the region? Now, when we took charge of the fund in 2017, and I keep talking as if I'm a politician, when we took charge of the country, when we took charge of the fund in 2017, one of the major things the board said, let's look at our deposit insurance limit. So we're always encouraged to ensure that we're within what is within the region. And so that also, first of all, there were many factors. The exchange rate had depreciated significantly. Deposits in the banking sector had grown more than 500%. We really needed to do something. And so we're lucky to have put in place our deposit insurance limit, even faster than Kenya that had been thinking about it. And they put their limit, I think, 2 years later. Now their economy is much bigger than us, maybe 2 times, and you can see it is reflected in the limits that we have, because we have certain benchmarks that deposit insurers are looking at. Like I said, IADI recommends, through lots of research, the 20% and 80%. So when we raised our limit, now we're reaching the 20%, but at that point we were still 17%, but we convinced the stakeholders that we shall move forward from there within a few years. And I think we're now hitting that. Tanzania is now thinking of increasing their deposit insurance limit. It is very, very low. Rwanda also has just started deposit insurance, so they're still putting in place structures. The time will come. Generally, the region tries to have something which is uniform so that we avoid the arbitrage and having customers decide to
to leave your country. And so the deposit insurance world says, if you feel the premiums are sufficient, just try not to reduce because you don't yet know what is ahead, but don't increase the premiums because they are comfortable. So generally, the 0.2 coming down from 0.2, and by the way, the law says that is the least. Yeah, coming down below that might not be possible. Let us pray that we don't reach a point where we have to increase the premiums, and that should not be very soon. So don't go away scratching your head saying that maybe we're going to increase it. It's not going to happen very soon because currently we're very comfortable, both in terms of the region and the globe. Thank you very much, Patrick.
The issues of discussion, you're interested in this, so we have no option but to listen to you. Thank you very much. Just to wrap up and say, I skipped this, but some institutions still have the old posters. Just ask your team to get in touch with me. We have enough. All they have to do is come and pick. At least let's be current as we work towards taking James's direction of being compliant with the times. Speaking of depositors moving away from the banking halls, the one area you're leading them to is the ATM machines. We have some little neat posters. Just find a way of sticking something there so that we are taken care of. And bankers, you love statistics. I thought I should share this with you. Total number of contributing institutions we have is 33. We invited all of you, and 23 showed up. Of the 23, we have 2 apologies. That means what? About 8 did not apologize and did not show up. For now, in Africa, we say, it is okay. I'm sure you understand what that means, isn't it? But to those of you who are here, surely, thank you very, very much. And I do hope that as we go along, whenever we have these opportunities, we'll be glad to come and interact with you again. Asanteni sana, and the earlier prayer I said is still working. God has blessed us. Let's conclude the day with a photograph here. Thank you very much and have a lovely day.